What is up, guys? And we are back with another video. And today is a longer video, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you the conclusion right now and make this intro short and sweet. That way, if you guys just wanted to know which one's better, I'm telling you right now. So, Crescent Pike with 2-piece Glad and 2-piece Bloodstained is the move, especially for free-to-play players. And then 4-piece Retracing Bolide and 4-piece Glad is the move if you have something else like the Primordial Jade Spear. And then in terms of how they compare with each other, in terms of just normal attack damage, Crescent Pike outperforms the Jade Spear, both using their best sets. But when it comes to overall damage, including the Q and E, Jade Spear outperforms. You guys can go ahead, sit through the testing if you guys want. Basically in my testing, what I looked at was the normal attack damage, the charge attack damage, and then both of them with and without the shield. Just to get an idea of how both weapons perform, as well as different sets, because the main set that a lot of people were using, 4-piece Retracing Bolide, and I wanted to compare that with 2-piece Glad and 2-piece Bloodstained, and the results are pretty surprising. Now before I jump into the testing portion, we did have a winner in our Discord for the giveaway, and I'm just going to play that clip right now. I pulled on his account for Xiao because he won Xiao. I'm going to have a timestamp in the description, so if you guys just want to skip to the testing portion, feel free. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and play that clip right now. And here we are summoning for one of my viewers that won the giveaway in the Discord. Hope we get Xiao pretty early on. I just topped up. Should be exciting. I know he mentioned that he was pretty close to Pity, so if we do get him, I'm going to be rolling on the weapon banner, and maybe we can get the Primordial Jade Spear for Xiao. But fingers crossed. What if we get in the first 10 bomb? And we got it in the first 10 bomb. So when he said he was close to Pity, I guess he meant that he was literally right next to Pity. Well, I guess we can still call this a Xiao giveaway because we got the Xiao, but we're going to go ahead and roll on the weapon banner and see if we can get him the weapon. Try to roll on it. Maybe we get it. Fingers crossed. I don't even know if he's rolled on this banner. What if we got back-to-back legendaries? Wouldn't that be awesome? I hope we get it early so that way the extra Primo Gems he can just keep. But that's just me being very hopeful because the weapon banner is completely RNG, so I don't even know. Because I'm going to feel bad if we don't get it. But we did get Xiao, but again, he was super... Okay, we're at 20. Okay, let's get it. Oh, nothing. I think we can get to Pity. Or, actually, I don't know. I'm just guessing. Nothing. Got a few more. Let's go. Dang, they're really making me go all the way. Come on. Rust? He doesn't have that. That's new. Yes, sir! Right before I ran out of Primo Gems. Now, fingers crossed, it's the Primordial Jade Spear. Please. If it's not, I'm gonna be sad. Yes, let's go! Let's freaking go. Hey, congrats, man. He's watching, by the way. I'm streaming it to him, so I'm sure he's super excited. And I guess he can just keep the rest of the Primo Gems. Not a lot left. We got really lucky, but yeah. Anyway, back to the video. First, we're just going to look at the base attack number so you guys can get a comparison idea. But then we're going to go into the Spiral Abyss and actually like see it in action. So let's go ahead and look at the basic attack. We're going to be looking at the crit damage number. So 822. And keep in mind, guys, every time I attack, my Jade Spear gets a stack. So first we're going to look at 0 stacks for the Jade Spear, and then we're going to look at max stacks. Let's go ahead and look at the charge attack. So 2.4k. And keep in mind, Ruin Guards have high physical resistance. That's why these numbers look super low. But when you're fighting anyone else, like that would be hitting like 11k. Okay, now let's go ahead and equip the shield and look at the numbers. So 1848, you see how much it improved? Basically the 40% from Retracing Bolide is active and the 20% physical resistance reduction is active. So it almost doubled my damage, right? So 5k with the charge attack. So as you guys saw, with the shield, I basically doubled my damage. So now let's go ahead and look at the max stacks of the Jade Spear. So right now my attack is 1732 with 0 stacks. And at max stacks, my attack went up to 1920. So my basic attacks hit for 956. And my charge attacks hits for 2800. And with my shield, my basic attacks hit for 2100 and 6200 with the charge attacks. So you can see how much of a difference those stacks make. as well as the shield and just retracing bolide in general. Okay, so with Crescent Pike, obviously it doesn't provide any attack percentage, so my attack, and it has lower base attack, so my attack drops to 1578 compared to Jade Spear, it was at 1700. Also my crit rate drops. So that's one thing about the Crescent Pike, is you're gonna have to find a way to get that crit rate. One idea that I like to, one thing I like to do is pair him with the GeoMC, because when GeoMC uses his burst and you're standing in it, all the characters get a 10% increased crit rate. So basically I'm close to 50%, even with Crescent Pike. Let's go ahead and look at the same 4 things with Crescent Pike, and also we're going to be looking at the Crescent Pike's passive. So 921, you guys can already see at base level without the shield and no stacks, Crescent Pike is better than Jade Spear, right? So 2654, let's go ahead and grab a shield. Okay, almost 2k. And this is what I mean by the crit rate. So 5700 with the shield. So basically how Crescent Pike's passive works is every time you collect an energy orb, you get additional attacks. So you see I just grabbed that energy orb. Now when I attack, I get that additional attack, right? And that additional attack can actually crit as well as scales with your physical damage. So let's go ahead and see what the crit number is for that attack. So basically I'm getting an additional 422 damage on my basic attacks. Okay, and then another artifact set, I'm not going to showcase it, but I just want to mention it, that it's really good, is going to be full Gladiator. Unlike Retracing Bolide, the 2-piece set actually increases your attack, which is better than the, which in terms of damage is better than the 35% shield increase, but the trade-off is you lose 5% attack. So with full Gladiator you get 35%, whereas with Retracing Bolide you get 40%. But the thing with Gladiator is this is always active, whereas Retracing Bolide, it requires you to be protected by a shield. But then a con to this is this only applies to your normal attacks, whereas Retracing Bolide applies to your normal and charge attacks. And by the way, the 40% from Retracing Bolide and 35% from Gladiator do not affect the Crescent Pike's passive. The only thing that affects the Crescent Pike's passive is your physical damage. So I'm going to showcase that right now. So this is what artifact set I recommend running if you guys are using the Crescent Pike, and that's because this physical damage bonus 25% applies to your Crescent Pike. So in reality, like if you do the math, it's basically giving you a 50% bonus because your Crescent Pike is an additional attack and it actually adds to your Crescent Pike. Whereas Retracing Bolide and Gladiator, the 40% effect does not apply to your Crescent Pike. And I think this one's easier to build because you only need 2 good pieces from each set, unlike the other 2 where you need a full set. So I really recommend this for anyone who's struggling with artifacts and are using the Crescent Pike. And honestly, this competes really well with Jade Spear. So I'm going to go ahead and use this with the Crescent Pike, and let's look at the numbers. And just to show you guys, in terms of my crit damage, we're very close to what we had with the Retracing Bolide. It's like a 3% difference. And also our attack is very close. It's like a 40 attack difference. Our HP is a little higher. So like this is the closest I could get to getting them similar. So let's go ahead and see how well this performs. Okay, let's look at our basic attacks. So 1000. You can already see that's higher than what I had with the Retracing Bolide. So let's look at the charge attack. 3k. So 1900. And almost 6k, and that's just because of the shield debuff. So now let's go ahead and see how much our Crescent Pike passive does. So you see that 502 before it was hitting for 422. So you can see even though our crit damage is a little less, our attack is a little less, we're still doing more damage with our passive, and that is because we have Bloodstained, which scales with the Crescent Pike. And that's what I wanted to show you guys there. I just want to tell you guys that if you guys are using the Crescent Pike, I really recommend you guys use 2-piece Glad and 2-piece Bloodstained, and that's because Bloodstained scales with your Crescent Pike, and it's just going to make it so much better. Now before we jump into the Spiral Abyss and showcase the damage, let's go ahead and break down what we've talked about so far. Okay, so here are all the numbers, and I know it looks like confusing, but we're only worried about 2 things, right? What we're really concerned about is with the shield on, how does Retracing Bolide Jade Spear compare against Blood plus Glad Crescent Pike? As you guys can see, when Jade Spear at max stacks uses Retracing Bolide and the same Blood and Glad set, Retracing Bolide wins for the Jade Spear. But when Crescent Pike uses the same Retracing Bolide set and uses the same Blood and Glad set, Crescent Pike performs better with the Bloodstained and Glad set. And then when you compare the two, meaning Jade Spear using its best set, which is going to be Retracing Bolide, and then Crescent Pike using its best set, which is going to be Blood plus Glad, you can see Crescent Pike, in terms of normal damage and basic attacks, Crescent Pike actually outperforms the Jade Spear. By the way, the first number is the basic attacks and the second number is the charge attacks. 917, which is what they normally hit, plus the 522 passive damage. So that's what it means by passive. So this includes a passive in addition. Just from a basic attack damage output, you guys can see how good Crescent Pike is. So let's just break down like the benefits of each weapon. Crescent Pike, free to play. By the time you get one Jade Spear, you might have like a Refinement 5 Crescent Pike, unless you're a whale, right? So just in terms of that, this weapon wins. Not only that, Blood plus Glad is way easier to get than a full Retracing Bolide set, because for this you only need 2 good pieces from each set, whereas Retracing Bolide you need 4. And not only that, my Blood plus Glad set had lower attack, had lower crit damage, and lower HP. It wasn't by that much, but still it was lower. And considering all that, my Crescent Pike still outperformed Jade Spear. For now, I know I'm saying Jade Spear is amazing and all, but we have to think about the cons, right? With Crescent Pike, I was sitting around 39% crit rate, whereas Jade Spear, I was sitting around like 70% crit rate. So it's going to be way more consistent. Crescent Pike, so that's the thing about Crescent Pike is like if you have that crit rate, if you have someone that can boost your crit rate, or you guys got really lucky with your crit rate artifacts, then this is going to be by far the best weapon. Not only that, Crescent Pike does not improve your Q damage or E damage, whereas Jade Spear does. But then again, we're comparing a 5-star gacha weapon compared to a 4-star free-to-play weapon, and you guys can see how good they are in comparison. And I hope this gives you guys an idea of how each set compares as well, and how Bloodstained really improves Crescent Pike's damage. So yeah, now let's just go ahead and jump into the Spiral Abyss where we can showcase both. Okay, now let's go ahead and go to the Spiral Abyss. First, we're going to be looking at the 2-piece Glad and 2-piece Bloodstained with the Crescent Pike, and then we're going to be looking at Retracing Bolide with Jade Spear. And I'm going to be using a floor that doesn't really improve my geo damage as well as my physical damage. That way we get the most accurate results. I would do floor 12, but it improves geo damage. Okay, and in terms of the floor buff, I'm just going to do something that doesn't improve my damage, because I just want to give you guys like the normal numbers. And you'll also see how my burst hits compared to both. And you see all those tiny numbers appearing with the Crescent Pike. That's what I was talking about. Especially if you have like another Geo character paired with Zhongli, like you're always going to be getting energy, and those numbers are always going to be appearing. So I hit like 54k with Crescent Pike, which is pretty good. It's still a good amount of damage. That's the thing. And this is why I like using Geo MC. Inside this, I have higher crit rate. So I'm hitting like upwards of 5k with just my basic attacks, and then I have those tiny attacks as well that are also hitting like 800 to 1500, which is kind of crazy, right? And that's what I mean by like our crit rate might be a little less, but like the damage output for Crescent Pike is insane. And it feels like, you know, when Rock Lee takes his weight off after fighting the Ruin, or you know how Rock Lee takes his weight off? That's what it feels like right now. Because we were fighting that Ruin Guard and we were doing like 2000 damage, and now we're doing like 5k, 4k, like so easily. Except like the only thing is this guy. You see all those tiny numbers? Like that's where Crescent Pike is just so good, because you're getting so many energy particles. I don't even like know what time I finished, but that doesn't really matter. I just kind of want to showcase you guys like how they both perform. And again, we're going to use movement speed. But you'll also notice how I don't hit like those tiny hits. You know, so you won't see as many numbers like you did with the Crescent Pike. You won't see as many numbers, but so you see that? I think I hit like 52, and now I'm hitting like 65 with my burst. So that 10k burst difference is all from the Jade Spear. And I'm like hitting overall higher, but the thing is with Crescent Pike I was hitting like all those tiny numbers. But you'll see, like you can tell like in terms of like damage output, it's pretty close. Yeah, just in terms of like the basic attacks. Obviously, like the burst and my E damage is higher with the Jade Spear. But again, I just want to highlight like how good the Crescent Pike is for Zhongli, especially for like free-to-play characters, or not free-to-play characters, for free-to-play people. It's such a good weapon, and a lot of people are like want to roll for the Jade Spear because like, oh, it's completely broken. And I just kind of want to show you guys that you don't necessarily need the Jade Spear to be good, especially considering you'll get way you'll get a lot more Crescent Pike refinements compared to Jade Spear refinements. So in the long run, unless you're a whale, like the Crescent Pike is always going to be a better option, you know? Makeshift Shao, there we go. And yeah, there you guys go. I just kind of want to give you guys a tiny showcase of how they both perform. The thing with Zhongli physical DPS is he might not be hitting as hard as someone like Razor or something like that, but he's providing so much CC. He's always has a shield. He's like never taking damage. On top of that, he's providing a damage reduction with his shield. Like he just does so much as a physical DPS. It's crazy. So there's just so much going for him. He's so good now, and you can build him like I said. And in terms of builds, like I said, I think the best way to build him, like overall, in my opinion, would be Crescent Pike with 2-piece Glad and 2-piece Bloodstained. But if you guys do have the Jade Spear already leveled, go ahead and use that. The best set for that is going to be either 4-piece Retracing Bolide or 4-piece Glad. Unfortunately, I didn't have like the best 4-piece Glad set to showcase, but it would perform similar to Retracing Bolide. I honestly prefer Retracing Bolide because Zhongli's always using his shield anyway. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I hope it helped. I know it was a little longer, but thank you guys for watching, and see you guys.